One. Hey, Thomas, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. We just got off our podcast on 12 Monkeys.
Yes, we
Um,
did.
yep. I have to say that with that title, Monkeys, you got me already pulled in. And then they kind of lied. I don't think I counted 12. But I'll give them a pass since it's a great movie. We talked about it. And yeah, if you wanted to maybe take a look at that podcast, we've got that up on our channel as we speak. Um, but yeah, how's it going, Mike?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, yeah. So this is our Wednesday Wonder episode where we reach into our grab bag and we pull out. Well, we had a big, massive catch up episode last week where we really kind of caught up to this year again.
Hmm.
It seems like it's not slowing down. I think it is slowing down a little bit compared to like the last couple weeks, I would say. But there's
Hmm.
still amazingly people that want to jump on silliness and all that and whatnot. And I know, well, I'm sure we'll touch base with that a couple things.
Hmm.
We're not really Thomas and I really aren't. We like to cover interesting things. We don't really get into the weeds of the thing. We just kind of well, we might have an opinion on something, but
Hmm.
we don't we're not here shilling for attention,
Yeah, we
as the case
yeah,
may be.
and in our title, the first to last of Nerdom, we want to cover everything in the Nerdom. Obviously, we don't know everything about every Nerdom that's out there, but our
Right.
channel is to get to know them, but also have a more thoughtful perspective on the Nerdom. As far as we don't want to maybe get skewed a certain way. We wouldn't mind having guests on that have various views that maybe Mike and I don't have or aren't exposed to. But we want to give an kind of overview of how certain things affect the nerdum, and how things have changed over the years. I'm kind of long in the tooth, a little bit longer than Mike, so I've seen things kind of come and go within the nerdum, and I think if I bring any value to this channel, it's the fact that I've seen various things throughout my years, and I can give a historical perspective on various things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's we like to cover a lot of things. Oh, absolutely, we'll have an opinion. Oh, for sure.
Yep.
And it will more than likely happen sooner than later, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yep.
But yeah, anyway, kind of going into this week here, boy, I actually got a chance to hang out with my brother-in-law, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, and he actually filled me in on the kind of the background for like both Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland had kind of scraped their knees a little bit and kind of got smacked on the hand and apologized and kind of did this and did that, and then they were able to maintain and keep going on, whatever. Of course, Dan
Hmm.
Harmon was years ago with Community, and I believe, and then Justin Roiland now. But anyway, that era is over, and I think Justin Roiland voices Morty. I think
Yeah.
so. They're going to have to do something with one half of the creative team to figure that out, and then they're going to have to recast Rick. But I don't know. I am a pretty sizable Rick and Morty fan. This sucks. I'm not really going to go into the thing of whatever, we if people could follow the golden rule, I think we'd have a lot less things like this happen. Perhaps I don't know, but
Right. And I
yeah. So
don't.
this was so I noticed you put this guy in the link here.
Yeah.
What's your take on it? What's your fallout from it, or what do you think
Well,
the thing
uh,
is?
obviously the personal details for Justin Roiland, I mean, that's kind of world changing for him, as
Mhm.
far as
Very
having
much.
to deal with that. And Mike and I don't have any of the details as far as I don't think anyone really has too much of
No.
details outside the participants in the court case. But yeah, it looks like adult. I think it was probably a mutual thing between Adult Swim and Squanch Games, which is gaming division that Justin Roiland has for things. I think it was probably Justin's idea. This is just my speculations that he step away from things, which I think is a easier thing to do than you might think, in the sense that um, if you watched the last season of Rick and Morty, which I did on the Adult Swim app, and at the end of each episode, there's sort of like a minute or two behind the scenes of it, and on all of those, Dan Harmon spoke on, but you never saw Justin Roiland. And you also only saw, and I noticed something. They talked to a gentleman named Scott Martyr, who under his name said showrunner. So it looks like Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland's kind of has taken a step back, and maybe is more of a consultant position, or maybe a person in the writer's room, as opposed to being the showrunner for Rick and Morty. They've built up, I guess, a writing team that supports them, so that they don't have to take as active a role in writing or breaking down the stories as they did probably at the beginning. So I think that the fact that Justin Roiland is stepping down is a big headline, but I think it's maybe a bit of a more of a nothing burger than than what we would initially think. And I think it's probably for the best that Justin steps down, because if he stayed on, there would be those people that would cast aspersions against Adult Swim, just because of the allegations, and also the Justin's gaming company, that it's in his best interest to keep those brands in a good place. I mean, he's gonna, even if he steps down, he's gonna be making money from these companies, and with him staying attached to them would tarnish them in some aspects. So him stepping away for at least until all of his court stuff gets resolved in whatever way it is probably best for all parties involved.
They don't they don't of course we've seen let's not get into that one, but these things, this is not something that is like he said, she said, something or other. No. This had something with presumably, and Justin is presumably innocent until proven guilty, so he has that right, just like any other person who's arrested and gets into the criminal matters. But this had serious meat behind it, and the fact is that there will be a trial, and his attorney has said, hey, we're looking forward to clearing his name, whatever. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, whatever. Whether that'll be interesting to see if they publicize that trial, because that might be the next of course, America is so friggin' random with our fascination with court cases. It could be the most obscure court case nobody heard about 6 months ago, and then all of a sudden it's upon us, and then everybody knows household names of so and so and so and so, and you get sucked in, and it's happened several times in my lifetime, or both our lifetimes. I have no doubt. Especially with the way media is nowadays. So that might be might be coming to a screen near you.
I have two other points on this. Do you remember a few years back when there was that court case transcript? I forget, I didn't give you the link for it. That there's that YouTube video where Rick and Morty kind of did they animated it with the voices, and they read the transcript.
You're talking about the real live court case of the state of Georgia versus Rick Allen or something like that, or not Rick Allen, but something Allen.
So a politically incorrect person or persons could maybe turn around, and if they get the transcripts to Justin Roiland's case, maybe do the same thing to him. I don't know how that would turn out, but that was just an idea that I had right just this moment.
Yeah, that actually, I think it was one of the either a Tozy covered it or one of the guys that you had gave a YouTube shout out recommendation for went over the court. I didn't realize that. I mean, I remember watching it because what it was it came from a Comic-Con panel where they did a live reading back and forth
Right.
like where they literally read that real world court transcript. That was a real world transcript from court, which just blows your mind. Like when you kind of go back and watch it, I didn't know that. I just thought they all made it up. But anyway, years later, anyway. But yeah, who knows that this one? But yeah, I that's interesting, and it sounds like they kind of knew something was going. Some of these guys, have problems hanging around. And I'm not saying that Justin is one of those guys, but he kind of sort of seems to be like one of those guys, like where it just doesn't quite stick or something or whatever, and then, hopefully the right people can get to him before they get to the, like I guess they got to Ezra Miller, for example, before he got too far off the deep end. But whatever that is. Yeah. So it sounds like they've planned as much as they can, and Rick and Morty will continue just like they said in the announcement or whatever.
Yeah. And as far as maybe the bigger meaning for the Nerdom out there, I know that there's a lot of younger fans of Rick and Morty that maybe idolize Dan Harmon or Justin Roiland, and they're having a bit of a kind of a crisis, having one of their heroes have these bad allegations come out about them. I remember back in the day when I was younger, and maybe someone that I kind of idolized had some tarnish put on them. You just kind of realize that everybody's human. Everybody makes mistakes, and that yeah, even your heroes aren't above being human. And it doesn't take away from what they've created. Well, it shouldn't, but sometimes it does a little bit. So it's good. Sometimes it's a rough pill to swallow. So those out there that was a big fan of Justin Roiland, just know that everybody kind of goes through the same thing where maybe their hero is it you find out that your hero isn't as heroic as you once thought they were.
I believe the kids call that problematic nowadays.
Yeah, problematic. There's
your hero is problematic.
Yeah, your hero has trigger warnings now.
Yeah, definitely something Kanye West could maybe look into.
Yep.
Oh boy. Anyway, it's kind of. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, these are brands. This is a business. You cannot be having these things hanging around like that. And I think today's society, is pretty true for the most part. I think nowadays, in certain circles and certain circumstances, some of these things are taken a lot more seriously, for good or for bad. That can't be a bad thing, especially when you're talking about criminal matters, because you can't be doing certain things. And we live in a society. We live in a society here.
Yep.
But anyway, moving on. This kind of ties in with our this week's main show on 12 Monkeys. Terry Gilliam.
Yeah, Terry Gilliam. He's the creator of the movie Time Bandits, and he's also the director of 12 Monkeys that we discussed on our podcast. 12 Monkeys is a great movie. So is Time Bandits. He wrote and directed Time Bandits, and maybe it's maybe a future movie that we can cover on our podcast as well. Maybe when the show gets closer to coming out. But evidently, Terry Gilliam's not a fan of this TV series that Waititi is in charge of, which he's I guess the showrunner for it. He's gotten kind of somewhat of heat over the last Thor movie, and maybe his lackadaisical treatment of Thor and the Thor franchise in that movie. I know he's been ushered off of that series of movies after Thor: Love and Thunder, and maybe his approach to the humor of Time Bandits is a bit disrespectful. That's what is rumored that Terry Gilliam is saying about how he's handling the project with disrespect, and maybe he's not going at it the way that Terry Gilliam would have wanted. There's a lot of previous franchises that this is true to. I think a lot of us had that same feeling with the Willow TV series that's kind of continuing, even though I think the showrunner for that claimed he was a big fan of the original movie. A lot of the original movie fans of it are having trouble with that. And I have a sinking suspicion from Terry Gilliam's reaction to being on set of the Time Bandits TV show that this may be the case again. I think he was scheduled to be on set for 2 weeks, according to this article, and he left after 3 days in disgust. Reportedly.
Right. Well, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Mr. Waititi's expertise, I would say the best way to describe that would be a little goes a long way. And if you stay in that groove for too long, it wears you out real quick. It's cute and it's novel. Like I said, in small little bits where it can be, kind of thing. But like, I probably, well, it doesn't matter. But there's going to be a million Marvel movies out. The latest. Have you seen the latest Marvel?
Yeah.
There actually is a couple shows on Apple TV that I like to follow. We kind of sort of, I think I gave them as recommendations, and I lightly covered it. We did not cover it together, but it was I believe it was and I always screw this up, Asimov's Foundation, or Foundation. Yeah, that's what it was. But anyway, I rolled into it. I was into it. I thought it was solid. I didn't think it was the greatest thing ever, but hopefully, we'll have to see. We'll definitely cover the original Time Bandits. I don't know about the new one, but and never say never, because I don't want to be too prejudiced to it. But I definitely have to see the original before I can say whatever. But
right.
We'll see. I don't know. This kind of sounds very familiar, unfortunately. And although this particular director, the showrunner, isn't necessarily known for that, kind of, sort of, I guess, lately. But we'll see. You gotta. I had a big, long discussion with my brother-in-law about this kind of thing too, about how, from my point of view, and I'll hop on a soapbox here a little bit. Here, the only beef that I have with the fandom in general is there's like this camp that just like they keep demanding new things. Let's get new things, and then when you can't have something new without getting rid of the old. And when they do get rid of the old, then they complain endlessly about that, and like I get it, I understand, but it's like, we don't know nothing. You know what I mean? Like, how about we don't even have anything to really complain about yet? Like, let's let the thing happen. And like, because otherwise we're going to be kicking the same can around the same block, around the same thing. And this is in particular, this is to do with the Henry Cavill thing. I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I wish it would have turned out differently, but at the end of the day, the dude is 39. Okay. He's got other things, like he's at the end of his 10-year cycle of being able to do something with that, or not, whatever,
Right.
There's only so many things you can go. You can't do a young Superman story with a 39-year-old Henry Cavill. You just can't. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the biggest complaint is like, well, I mean, we got to give them enough space to like create new stuff. But at the same time, if it's crap, if it's continuously crap in quality, or tries to do something that is not there or never was there, like try to push the message. So
Right.
to kind of joke, make fun of things a little bit. But that's not too far from the truth. It's just like you can't really. I don't know. Well, we'll see. But
Yeah.
we're kind of going from here to what's going on with Mr. Renner.
Looks like they kind of released more details on his accident. Shout out to Jeremy Renner and his recovery. Looks like
Absolutely.
everything's going well for him. But yeah, it sounds like it was a bit more serious. Well, having a snowplow run over you does not sound like a fun time. So yeah, but yeah, uh, we'll have the links to the article if you want to really get into it. But yeah, over 30 broken bones from
Good
the
God.
accident, and but yeah, it's yeah, he has to be a bit of a hero to get through all of this. And
Okay. Good
from
God.
the explanation of the accident, it looks like, I guess, I forget all the details, but I think at one point, um, it looked like maybe the snowplow or part of it was going to hit his older nephew, and that he went to save his nephew, and I think that's how the accident happened. So he was being a hero in of himself in the
Good God.
process, and he got injured. But yeah, um, but yeah, I think this is another. It could have ended far worse for him. But I'm glad he's in the process of recovering, and you maybe have been injured before, and it's recovery process from an injury is no matter how light or severe, it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely horrific. And growing up in Wisconsin, um, those snow plows are massive, and that it's literally, it's literally a grinder. I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing that he survived. And I also had heard that his neighbor was a doctor of some kind, but if his neighbor hadn't been there to provide medical care, he most certainly would have bled out or something
Yeah,
horrific.
yeah,
But like
definitely.
so,
Yeah.
I'll absolutely the best wishes to him and on his road to recovery. It's not gonna be easy. We'll
Absolutely.
definitely
Yep.
keep an eye out for him, and whenever we see
Yeah.
something, we'll share it.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
he was in a lot of movies I love to watch, like The Town. I'm nuts about that movie with Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck
Uh,
directed that. I don't think we'd ever. I don't think our large S on the Nerdom covers that. I wish it did, but otherwise, I might make you watch I might make you watch any off thing, regardless of the
yeah.
podcast. But I'm sure you probably might have already seen it. But anyway,
Yep.
moving on.
Yeah.
Uh,
And his also his second season of Mayor of Kingstown's out, I believe, on Paramount Plus.
okay,
We'll give
good,
a
good.
shout out to that. But I haven't seen that series. I've heard good things about it, so I may check it out at one point. I have my
Okay.
list of TV shows I'm watching currently. It's a bit high, so I need to
Yeah.
finish up a few before I tag on another one.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Moving on here, I read this interview, this article, not from Bounding in Comics, but from another one.
Mhm.
And I was happy to see you had that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
tell us what the absolute dissing that this creator has had over the course of the last decades from Hollywood. It's a man that gets no respect, in my
Yeah.
opinion. From my understanding of the background, to my brother-in-law explained it a little bit more to me as well, when we talked about anime and manga. He's a big
Mhm.
manga guy, anime
Mhm.
guy. He's my guide
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, manga and anime is huge. All you have to do to get a visual idea of how big manga is go into Barnes and Nobles or your local bookstore
Mhm.
and look at the manga section and look at the American graphic novel section. American graphic novel section is probably kind of one thing of whole shelf of American graphic novels, and then manga goes from aisle to aisle to aisle. Um, and Hollywood wants to tap into the popularity of this, but they don't know how, and they keep fumbling. and falling on their ass, so to speak. And Cowboy Bebop is creators of beloved creator Shinichirō Watanabe. I think I might have butchered his name there, but yeah, even he couldn't stomach even one scene of the Netflix adaptation of his show, live action adaptation. He I'm sure he got paid, probably not as that Netflix money is probably not as big as it once was, but I'm sure he got a decent sized check for it. But that to see something that you created end up in this state is I'm sure very saddening, and not something. And it seems like if you remember back when it came out, one of the actors or actresses in the movie or the show was very antagonistic with the fans, which also I didn't think helped. Maybe maybe she knew it wasn't as good as what it actually was, and was trying to, I guess, increase the visibility on the show to hopefully maybe even get some hate views for it. But I don't know. Who knows? Who
I
knows what
loosely
was going
remember
on?
when that happened last year, when like there was a little kerfluffle of like, you don't get it, like don't stop. This goes back to what I've said, not just me, other folks way smarter than me. Don't attack the fans. Like, and the other thing too is like, don't. Oh, well, the article that I read was basically like he just wasn't interested in watching. He didn't get a catch to be interested in it. And the Netflix people were like, oh, well, we're doing the spirit of. Whenever you start talking like that, with the next thing you know, you're going to be running into a hippie or crystals or something like that. No.
Yeah.
I'm kind of making fun of that. It's a very poor joke,
Right.
but in any case, Cowboy Bebop is the penultimate. The best version of Cowboy Bebop is that it's already been done. It's already
Yep.
been done, and if you didn't have the proper respect given to it, there's no way. Whatever, even if you do something with that world or remake, whatever you want to call it, you don't give respect where due. You're not going to be able to get the fans in to appreciate the new thing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they found out with that thing. I didn't bother watching it because it was panned. So it was so panned very hard. I was like, just don't bother. Just if you have memories of Cowboy Bebop, leave it there.
Yeah, and the reason to do an adaptation, at least the way I look at it, is you're building off of that core fan base. So basically, the ideal situation would be have that built-in fan base that's anticipating this live action adaptation. You want to do everything you can to excite those fans,
Right.
so that's your initial view of the show to start with, and then they tell their family and friends, and that just kind of blows up. The whole thing blows up, and it becomes a bigger success than what it originally was, based off of that initial fan base. But if you go in and turn off those fans and creator, and make a product that does not inspire them, that's not going to inspire anybody. I guess their thinking is that people that weren't familiar with the original manga will come in, this unknown quantity of non-fans of the original come in and really enjoy it and blow it up that way. But you're gambling on a maybe, whereas if you gamble on the built-in audience for this, you already have something to start with.
Right.
It makes way more sense than going for an audience that you might have.
Right. Yeah. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying before, which is like, do something new. Do something new. Absolutely. But at the same time, look, I'm not even saying you got to make it like don't even try to make it a grand slam. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't. It just needs to be good enough to live on. There are so many things like that are either on the edge, if not outright a remake, or the next generation of the thing, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That have been done over and over again to good enough standard to justify having its own fandom. But if it's terrible, or you're not going to do right by it, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You land like this and it's forgettable. Nobody's going to be talking about this in 10 years. Unless there's some crazy upside down thing. And that the thing is, if it doesn't catch fire on a Netflix of all things, because there is a track record where there has been not too recent movies that bombed in the theater, and then Netflix bought them and then re-released it, and it took off well enough to do something with it, later on.
Yeah.
But if you can't even win on that market, like where it's known for it, and Amazon Prime is too, or even for resurrected shows, and like where the standards aren't even like, you don't even have to be like amazing, you know what I mean? Like you are just essentially like, it's made for you, because we know you enjoy this and you're a fan. We know you've watched this, I don't know, whatever. But
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that it'll be forgotten in 10 years. In fact, I'm making a prediction. In 10 years, the original manga and anime of Cowboy Bebop is going to be as popular as ever, and someone on YouTube is going to do a thing on, hey, do you remember this crappy forgotten live action TV series? It's gonna be kind of spotlighting this. Hey, did you even know that this existed?
Right.
And they'll talk about how bad it was. And
yeah, and all it's going to be is a little line on whatever IMDb is in 10 years, or Wikipedia, or who knows, or whatever people tell you to read or think.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is cool. Kind of moving on from here. I was going to say, I was just gonna dip into this just a little bit, and then we can kind of go in there. But like, the Hogwarts Legacy, which I think we're going to try to do something with, maybe, in the not too distant future, as far as streaming goes, led by you, I believe, and then that would be cool to join you on that ride. If not outright help you play it. I don't know how it works, so I'd be just about as good as anything or anybody. But I kind of want to want to find a good enough game. But there's controversy apparently if you are one here or one there, and it's just kind of interesting to see that play out. And like, basically, here's the best possible breakdown I can say. If you think this way, that's an opinion. If you think that way, that's an opinion. Both are okay.
Yeah, and
it ends there.
Yeah,
it ends there.
Yeah, if you think certain creators problematic, as we talked about earlier, there is a way to separate the creator from the thing that you like. I mean, there's that thing. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, there's certain creators that have said stuff that kind of turned me off to the creator, but I still love the book, or I still love the movie, or whatever. It's
many times.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I was always a Harry Potter fan, and so I'm looking forward to the game. I was thinking about, I was definitely going to get the game, but yeah, I was thinking about maybe streaming it. It's a single player, so maybe Mike can watch while I play, and we can make some commentary on it. Maybe talk about the controversy, whatever. And if that's something that you're interested, if you're interested in that, let us know down in the comments that you'd be interested in watching us do that. That'll incentivize us a little bit more, because I know getting everything set up for streaming may be fun, maybe maybe difficult, maybe all right. I haven't tried that before, so we'll definitely give that a try.
I started to look into the equipment. I started to get it, and then I got this house, and then it fell off a cliff. Then, but
Yeah.
it would be cool to because the machine I have should be reasonably capable enough to. It's not like amazing AAA whatever, but it does have a little bit of horsepower, and it can do it can do. And never mind that. I think what if you're smart, you don't want to deal with that with your computer. You can do it like a pass through, but you can have I have the smaller the 1440p Xbox, the white one or whatever, the not the 4K one, but I have that other one. But anyway, we'll see. That'd be fun. That'd be fun to just kind of roll around and watch you play, and then get into the weeds. And I think with that being said, I was just going to give a shout out to this. I actually started watching the first little bit of this, The Last of Us on HBO Max, and I was forever and always I'll be like, is it HBO Go or HBO Max? I can't remember. Anyway, HBO Max, Last of Us, and I actually this made me really want to play the video game bad, so I stopped watching. Like I literally watched 5 minutes of it to see what's up. Because I have a pretty fine palate taste for like if something is compelling in 5 minutes, you pretty much know you're going to keep watching or not, and it is. That's the good news. The other good news is that it was like, oh yeah, I need to I need to get the game. So I'm hoping to get that later this week and then play that. I don't know if I can do it on PC or if I have to use the PlayStation. But anyway, regardless.
And maybe you want to, if we want to do maybe impromptu streaming on it, we can maybe do that if both of us are available.
I'd love that. That'd be great. Yeah. Why not? Why not? Yeah, why not?
Because I've done I played through the first game. I love the game. Now things have kind of, you may remember some controversy over the second game.
Yes.
And I have no love for the second game.
Right. A lot of people don't.
If you love the game, that's great. So it's kind of tarnished me a bit on watching the show.
Sure.
I have a great love for the game. I've played the game, so it's like, why do I need to watch the show? So yeah, I haven't heard of anything compelling enough to make me watch the show yet.
I heard some nuance from heel versus babyface, and I can't remember whose podcast it was. It wasn't his main one, but it was like I heard his kind of take on it, and then I can't remember. I think it was C3PO who's given their counter thing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I remember them saying something very interesting about how a video game is shown versus how the show is shown, and one on their panel actually made the point of like, well, you have to kind of turn it around a little bit because people are coming in, they don't know what's going on or why. But in the first 5 minutes, with that background, understanding that it is made in a different manner to get to the end goal, the same as the first as the game and the second, whatever. Which I don't know. It's been so long, whatever. But I mean, I know the first game. I obviously know like the spoilers and all that, but I can still enjoy the show. I get it, and I actually it was just like coming as a normie, I guess, or a filthy casual, as I like to say sometimes. Beg, borrow, and steal that term. I get it. Like I can see where if the payoff that they gave in the first 5 minutes works, I'm there. So basically what I'm saying is like after I play the game and I come back to this, I'm going to be in a good position. I'm going to be in a better position, I think, to enjoy it. But it was compelling enough to hook me in. And I got to say that the way that it was made, it makes sense because they can't do the same thing that do the video game.
No, yeah.
They have to give you more explanation of like what it is, because the game again, it's a completely different media. Right. We'll see. I'm always hopeful for this, and that would be cool too.
Yeah,
but anyway, I think we're.
I always love video games. Is like you have this huge mission that you have to go on, and you're following along your mission, and then this villager goes, hey, I need you to collect all my chickens. So you stop this big grand adventure you're going on to collect the chickens. So yeah, the the TV show has to play on a a theme and pacing that a video game does not have to rely on. With the of course, the Last of Us video game was more of uh, uh, singular focus. It wasn't a open world type situation where you could do whatever you wanted within
Right.
that game environment. You were being led to certain plot points, but the pacing, like you said, the pacing of a video game is far different than the pacing of a show. And you
Right.
don't you can't film a 10-minute fight scene where you're you're dodging and jumping out and shooting things. It's a totally
Right.
different beast in that
Yeah,
sense.
and when I heard that they were actually positive on the show, they were like, look, it's not the best ever, but there's enough there for me to keep going on. Is what they were saying, and like
Yeah.
that makes sense to me. And it resonated with me to like to
Mhm.
kind of come in. I don't have an axe to grind one way or another.
No.
What I did show though was I think this one might have been last week. Matter of fact, I pulled up the sales figures for both of these things because so often you hear these arguments over the internet about sales figures and this and that,
Mhm.
and nobody actually really shows you that they're all about the opinion, every other opinion on the planet around it or about it, but the not the actual facts and figures. And if
Mhm.
you go back, like I did last week, you see 20 million copies were sold for The Last of Us, the
Mhm.
first one.
Mhm.
Last of Us 2 released during the pandemic, and it only sold 10 million. But and by all rights, it should have sold. It really should have sold way more than that because it was like
Mhm.
everything was shut down, nothing was
Mhm.
happening. You had this perfect bubble of time
Mhm.
for everybody to kind of go nuts on it, and it didn't.
Mhm.
It sold. It was not as popular and
Mhm.
widely held as the first one. So
Mhm.
take that
Well,
from
that's
will
yeah.
as you may. But if you like Thomas said, if you love it, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, we're not uh nerdom overlords. We don't tell you what to think or what to feel.
It was a
We
gatekeeper here, and
yeah.
if anything, would be the opposite of saying, "Hey, well, you can think you're a gatekeeper, but you're really not." I mean,
Mhm.
that's kind of the problem with this whole thing of like,
Mhm.
get off my lawn.
Absolutely.
Anyway, speaking about getting off somebody's lawn here, if we visit your lawn next door here, we have your this week's or you know what? First, I think you wanted to say a little, speak a little piece
Yeah.
before we get into
Yeah.
recommendations. So
Yeah.
fire away, my friend.
And I'm going to keep this kind of vague in the sense that I think the argument that I'm going to talk about is kind of part and parcel to various different genres. There was this argument on Facebook, and this argument could happen on Twitter and various different. It's happened on various different medias, but this particular one caused me to think about the situation, and I had some thoughts on it. Basically, it's about this award, a lifetime achievement award in this genre,
Mhm.
and there was one person toting the nomination of one particular person that's been in the that genre for decades and has a built-in resume to maybe why he should be a good argument for maybe being a recipient of a lifetime achievement. And I think the argument was that there was a couple of people that actually got nominated that had like one book from the 90s. The it didn't seem like their lifetime of writing um fostered maybe a lifetime achievement award within this particular genre.
Okay.
There was questions on whether or not they were nominated because of maybe they were a different gender or a different race. And I've seen this argument time and time again, and basically it reduces down to, they were nominated for diversity, and the other side saying you're racist. And there's
Mm.
there's a good argument for both sides. I mean, there's an argument for the person that's been there for decades, having a lifetime achievement award for that person. But there's also an argument to be made for maybe people that haven't been a focus to the genre, that have contributed. uh but it seems like every time this happens, instead of people coming together for a better understanding of both sides, it just gets reduced down into this name calling.
Yeah.
And that's what it is right now. I don't think
Yeah,
it's going
that's
to
what it.
change. It's not going to change anytime soon. But what
Right.
does this mean for the larger nerddom? Again, this is sort of, since we have this channel, that's where I'm kind of focused on, is how this affects the nerdom. And again, I can only talk personally, but I used to look at awards as this built-in nomination from a community as a whole coming together to recommend these standouts. And I would always pay particular attention to those and try them out, try to read those particular authors. And and sometimes I liked them, sometimes I didn't. Was never a guarantee that I was going to like them, but it was kind of an indication on that wide field of everybody that's out there. But it's come to be almost a negative. It's like, there's always this negativity towards awards on both sides. And in the fact that there doesn't seem to be this whole anymore. Just everything kind of is fractured now. I don't see the value in awards anymore.
Mm.
I don't see awards as being particularly good for good for anybody at this point. I kind of, if someone's nominated for award or has won the award, at this point it really doesn't mean much to me anymore.
I hear you. I hear. Yeah, that that kind of goes in what you were saying like, a really long time ago about ratings and reviews
Hmm.
on certain websites. Basically, if they don't like your opinion or your review, uh, you're not allowed to speak it. Essentially, and that's a shame. Yeah, but awards used to be something. They used to mean something. I agree with you.
Hmm.
That used to be a standout or was remarkable above its peers. And I think, and maybe I'll put his link here in a minute. He kind of talks about that a little bit. Paul Chato. He has a YouTube channel that I've recommended before, but
Hmm.
he kind of gets into that on the business side on the awards. Like on a thing.
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
mentions that a little bit, not quite as succinctly as you put it, but
Right.
that's just a
Well,
shame that,
yeah.
well, and to be honest with you, there's certain words that are poisoned, forever more poisoned. If
Hmm.
anything is, if you just want to stereotype it, to be honest, you want to say, if what were the buzzwords? The buzzwords are if there's like if something about diversity or something about something else, it's kind of like, I don't know, that might be you might be walking into a hornet's nest
Right. And I don't
that
think
was
it.
already
Yeah.
shooken up and agitated for your trouble.
Hmm. Yeah. And then and again, with awards, it really didn't matter what what gender, who they were, who they dated, what they'd like to do on a Sunday afternoon. None of that mattered. It was the, the writing itself.
Right.
I've uh yeah, I know, I throw it out to you guys. I don't, I can only give you my perspective, but what's your perspective on awards? Were they ever a thing for you? I know, like with the Academy Awards and all of those, I always knew that was kind of a instead of it being like a genre group, it was sort of like a grab bag, so to speak, like our namesake. Whereas when you kind of drill it down to say science fiction or fantasy or horror, you were getting into that niche group that everybody sort of had a similar idea on. But now, you know, even though everybody comes from a different type of background, it all seemed to kind of gel to, we all like the science fiction stuff, we all like the horror stuff, and we want to find the standouts in that community. Whereas now it's kind of gotten down to, anytime the word award comes up, there's going to be some type of controversy tied to it. And I don't see where awards are beneficial at this point, because no matter how you have a take on it, there's going to be a bad taste in your mouth because of something someone has said. And again, this episode of our podcast, we didn't have a particular theme involved, but it all seems to be everybody's flawed and everybody has an issue. And we kind of have to raise above that and just look at the works themselves, as opposed to tying in all this human nonsense that we always add to things, and
Right.
kind of drill back down to what really matters is what's on the page or what's on the screen, as
Right.
opposed
Yeah.
to what
I,
your feelings are.
yeah. Well, it used to be, we used to all kind of start from the same baseline where, okay, I'm just making it up. There's no, to my knowledge, this has ever happened for or two. But like, let's just say you had an amazing show and it was whatever. And then all of a sudden, the main person who was the drawer, the creator, the star, whatever, director, whatever, that they literally were arrested because they were and they were charged with they were a serial killer. That's never happened. But if it were to happen, there would be universal people walking away, no problem. You know, from that, no matter how good it is, they would do that. That's kind of patently obvious. But now, it's not that. It's not that you have to be on the cover of Time magazine as the latest serial killer to whatever. It's not even to that level of failing or even horror. It's about somebody said something that I don't agree with, and my people don't agree with it, and you are going to pay the price, and we won't stop until you are punished and are in a very arbitrary and capricious manner, with absolute malice that has no end. There is no boundaries to this thing. There is no logic to it sometimes. I think people let it slide, like when some things were like out there that were definitely horrible. I'm not saying that the thing that you shouldn't call it horribleness, absolutely, but like there's a line, like where it's just like, you know what, man, this is why people just want to say, shut up. I just want to watch a movie. I just want to go to see a movie like Maverick or you know, something like that. That's just entertainment. I don't want
Yeah.
I don't want to sit through a friggin' 2 hour long HR orientation for something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of making fun a little bit here, but like nobody wants that. Like it, and also people don't like it when you preach to them. Like when you start taking a holier than thou attitude with the audience, you just stop because you've lost. You
Well,
lost
and
it.
I'm gonna I just thought of this. Let's do hashtag bring Oprah back. I used to make fun of Oprah back in the day, but whenever there's a controversy or someone stumbled or made a mistake, they showed up on Oprah, hashed it out with Oprah, and everybody forgave everybody, and we moved on with our day. But since Oprah's gone, we don't have that anymore.
Right. It would be one thing if you could actually have these kind of conversations back and forth, but what you're saying is you can't even have that conversation because
Yeah.
if you are even perceived to be on the opposing side of whatever, or the wrong side, wrong speak, wrong thing side of something, you are summarily silenced,
Yeah.
and that's a problem.
Yeah. And again,
Not
I
how
make
life
the joke.
works.
I make the joke of Oprah, but there is something to having a show like she had, where it brought
True.
a bunch of people together. Because on the internet, one of the things that happens is we end up in our own echo chambers, and we
Right.
hear our same things over and over and over, and we kind of get to for better for worse, get brainwashed sometimes with certain ideas. And yeah, it's always good to have that other person on the other side say, hey, what about this? And instead of lashing out immediately to that person, actually listen and say, okay, well, let me hear this person out. Again, they could turn out to be, talking nonsense, but at least there's a dialogue there. And I don't know if something like awards can be fixed without some type of dialogue between
I
the
don't think so.
opposing sides, a civil dialogue.
Well, and that's just the thing. Like the thing is, like, people have opinions all the time, and there's no such thing as a, like, if anything, we have a luxury to say to that person, how dare you do that or say that or think that or whatever. It's just like, that's just not how we. I kind of made fun of it, like, we live in a society here. Like that. Anyway, kind of rolling away from that. Yeah, yeah. Give us your thoughts, like Tom was just saying.
Mhm.
Love to
Yep.
hear about it.
Yep.
Or what's your gripe? Like, what do you see that's
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
adjacent? That's
Yeah.
another
No.
word that is out there that
Yeah. Yeah. And
places to it.
if you think I'm wrong, tell me why I'm wrong, without calling me names, and I won't call you any names.
Right, right. Well, and then the simple truth is that if you cross that line in normal society, then you kind of allow the gloves to come off a little bit. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's one thing.
Hmm.
But we get to that point so quick. It's you just kind of jump to that point, and
Hmm.
it's no good for anybody. No good going to come from that.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right, well, I can see
Yeah.
that you. It's kind of like the meme where it says there's a stupid little text message, and it says, like, how do
Hmm.
you keep your calm and cool with people that are just dumb, or they're just spouting stupid stuff. And he goes, you just say you're right, and then they start to kind of blow up, and they're like, you're right. Then move on. Anyway, moving on to fun things.
Yeah.
Recommendations for this week. You have one here, Mr.
Yeah.
Sinister, which is a
Yeah.
favorite villain of mine growing up for the
Hmm.
X-Men, for sure.
Yeah. This is the big event that's happening for the X-Men right now, Sins of Sinister. And there's a little bit of backstory to kind of get you caught up to speed for this issue. To start with this big event, this issue came out last Wednesday. I know you kind of follow the current plot line of X-Men a little bit, Mike. So this may
A
be
bit.
kind of a refresher for you. But for those out there in the nerdom that are familiar with X-Men and Mr. Sinister, but maybe not what's currently going on, this is kind of what you need to know to start with. The X-Men have all congregated on the island of Krakoa, which is a mutant island. And they've also actually um, taken Mars and made it they can live on Mars, and the mutants have taken over Mars as well. So you have those two things going on, plus with the island and Charles Xavier and a few other mutants, they've developed a way to regenerate mutants if they die in battle. They
Mm.
can come back with their psyches intact. So they've kind of become somewhat immortal. And to get this done, they've enlisted some of the bad guys in the X-Men universe, like Mr. Sinister. They used his knowledge of gene manipulation. He promised to do good, but maybe he
Uh-huh.
had his fingers crossed behind his back. Also, something that you need to know going into this is the scientist friend Moira McTaggart. was who's a longtime friend of the X-Men. She turns out to have mutant powers, and her power was that whenever she dies, everything resets back to her being a baby, and then she could relive her life, but the whole world relives that point on as well. So
Oh, that's
she
crazy.
gets to and turns out that she only had 10 times to be able to do that. So I believe her ability to do that is long gone. But Mr. Sinister knew about this and has cloned more McTaggart, and now basically has kind of a, in like in video games, a reset button. So he gets to kind of repeat history, and at this point he has killed off the Charles Xavier, Emma Stone, or uh, the Ice
And
Queen,
Frost.
Emma
And
Frost,
Frost.
yeah,
Yep,
Emma
yep.
Frost, Hope Summers, and Exodus. Those are the four major players that are in the ability to um, regenerate people. And what he's done is he's put in a virus or Trojan horse into all four of them when they came back. So they're under his control.
Okay.
And
Very cool.
he's going off and killing off people and bringing them back with the Sinister virus so that he can have control of the whole world.
Sneaky, sneaky. Mr. Sinister was one of my all-time favorite villains on X-Men for sure. Yeah, well,
Yeah, yeah,
90s version,
yeah.
late 80s, early 90s. That
Yep.
I love that
Yeah.
as a kid.
So
Cool. Very
this is
cool.
the big event starter book, and then
Nice.
three of the Marvel X-Men titles have been renamed for this event. They're going to
Okay.
come out for the next 3 months. Immortal X-Men is now Immoral X-Men. Legion of X, which is the Nightcrawler book, has been renamed as Nightcrawlers, and the uh, X-Men Red, which is the Mars planet one with a Storm, has been named a Storm and the Brotherhood, or the Evil
Very cool.
Brotherhood.
Awesome.
So that's going to be the next 3 months. So this is the start of it, and then there'll be 3 issues of those three titles, and then a wrap up issue that comes out. So it's not a huge, really long event, and it's not a lot of comic books to collect. And if you're already collecting those particular issues, it's easy in on this. There's not a bunch of extraneous books to get outside this beginning one and the end one. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I love this particular take on Mr. Sinister. Lots of fun. He's humorous and evil, which is always a fun a fun combination. So yeah, I definitely recommend it, especially if you're into X-Men and are like Mr. Sinister and know a little bit about X-Men. I know I had to do a big prologue to kind of get to the point of this issue.
No
So
worries.
yeah, if it's a lot to go in, but the fun thing is they've built this storyline upon storylines that have been going on for the past few years. So you're getting this payoff if you've been following it this whole time. This really big payoff, but if you want to just dive into this payoff, just know that at certain points or certain ideas that you might be a little lost on.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to do more. To when I can read this, more than likely on the trailing edge of my subscription to the Marvels
Oh yeah,
stuff, like just DC, because I keep the I always mess up the name, Marvel Unlimited or something like that, and DC
yeah,
Infinite. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
yeah.
That's very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Kind of rolling into one that I had, just a kind of little silly little thing that I'm probably gonna end up getting. I saw this. I can't remember where. I think I saw my news feed,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "What?" And it looks really cool. And I just love everything about it.
Yeah,
But it's
got
coming
that.
out.
Yeah.
pre-order. So, and it's cheap enough to like where it's like if I miss
Yeah.
out, oh, big deal. But if I can, pre-order it or whatever, which I think I will. I don't think it's massively popular, but I'm looking forward to this. This
Yeah.
is silly little
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and I'm somewhat into the statues and toy thing. It's as long as you get a pre-order after pre-orders, sometimes depending on the popularity of something, it may be a little trickier to get. You may have to pay a $5 more or something on the resale market. But yeah, that's a nice classic look to Batman. And then
Absolutely, yeah.
that's
That's what I love about it. Yeah,
that's part of the McFarlane DC multiverse line, which those are in Walmart's as well. So you shouldn't have too much trouble finding that once it
very
comes
cool.
out, even after pre-orders.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah. And with that, I do have just a couple. I'll just roll through these real quick. Audible sci-fi books to roll into. The Terran Fleet Command Saga. I read book 1 and book 2, and it's a fun, entertaining jog. It's not too long. Each book isn't too long. I think they're a lot shorter than what I'm used to. I'm used to big, many more hours, but I really enjoyed this series, and I recommend it if you want to check it out. It does have pretty good reviews throughout the thing. It's in the vein of a hard science fiction, military type thing. It doesn't go too heavy into it, but it's got some interesting concepts for how that I haven't dealt with before in sci-fi. But very fun, fast paced, definitely. Kind of just fun to kind of dip into a new world and see what's what. This is why I love about sci-fi. But anyway, kind of bouncing back to you. Here you have your YouTube recommendation. Is this gentleman?
Just to tie back to your book thing. I think we mentioned Elric last week, my big fantasy character I've been reading. This past week I just kind of turned my brain off. I didn't read anything. I didn't catch up on any of my shows. I just one of the things is sometimes I just like to watch stuff on YouTube, and I found this guy. One of my recommends was this guy, Chef Brian. So he's a chef by name and actual practice. He has a restaurant in I believe New York and Brooklyn, I believe, which is I think it's a sandwich shop. And he's been on Chopped on the Food Network, and he's actually challenged Bobby Flay and won on that show, on that challenge Bobby Flay show. So he does have some some cred in the food industry. But the thing his channel does is he watches various food people, the
Okay.
food chefs on YouTube, and does critiques on them.
Nice.
And
Nice.
it gets kind of inception-y in that sometimes on those food reviews he watches another chef review that chef, so he's kind of reviewing it three chefs out, and so yeah, it gets kind of interesting. It sounds complicated, but it's not. Like this Uncle Roger that he watches, and you could probably go to Uncle Roger's channel and just watch him, because
Sure.
he's a very much fun to watch. But then I also like Brian's kind of take on and commentary on it. So I don't know. I kind of like the inception aspect of it. One of the chefs that he's reviewed is Kay's Cooking. She's this notoriously horrible cook on YouTube, and unfortunately, one of them they talks about cooking with Jack. His is entertaining, but from what I heard this past week, he had a second stroke,
Oh
and
no,
may be in pretty bad shape at this point. So
that's so good.
so prayers out to him and his family. I know it's all fun and games, kind of playing around with people's channels, but yeah, when they are in dire situations, it's never fun.
No, not at all. No, very cool recommendation from YouTube.
Uh-huh.
That actually that jogged my memory. I had shared this in the chat with you last week, or in between last week and this week. But we had covered the menu for our main show a couple
Uh-huh.
weeks ago. But anyway, I saw it. This kind of popped up in my feed, and it's Binging with Babish.
Hmm.
I love his channel. So it's kind of a shout out to that too. But basically, his spiel is he takes a famous movie recipe or food and then either recreates it. Well, he'll do it a couple ways. He'll kind of do it the quick, fast way like anybody else would, and then he'll like go in
Uh-huh.
and he'll like make everything by hand, or whatever is called for, even the most ridiculous thing. He will fulfill that. But anyway, he made the famous cheeseburger, double cheeseburger from the menu.
Hmm.
And I gotta say, I'm gonna have to follow this because it has interesting
Yeah.
techniques. Anyway, just a kind of a fun little shout out
Hmm.
that I saw. It's kind of cool, like when you can do these kind of things and like do it on your own thing, and
Hmm.
it's not like something like crazy, like I don't know, like just something that you're never in a million years going to even attempt on yeah, you'll watch somebody do it, but you won't. I'm not
Yeah.
sitting over here going to be making my own pasta or something crazy like that.
Right, right.
But anyway, kind of moving back.
With these recommendations, you're making me hungry.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Right, but yeah, I think that's those are my recommendations. I think those are yours as well.
Hmm.
And then I was going to say something about like what I couldn't. I don't have it. But anyway, I think that's our show. Like, unless you have anything
Yeah.
else that we missed, or you want to
No,
cover real quick before we put
no.
a lid on it.
Uh, yeah, I think that covers it. If we forgot something, we could always throw it back to our next episode, which we're quickly approaching our 100th episode for the channel, which we kind of talked about a little bit about on our podcast. So I think whenever it hits, we'll either celebrate it on our podcast or on our grab bag, whichever hits the 100th spot there. And
Yep.
I don't know. We'll discuss this offline because we haven't discussed it yet on what we might do for our 100th episode. If it's just going to be like a regular one with the balloons floating around, or if we'll make it super special. But yeah. Well, if you're out there and you've made it this far, you have evidently like our content. So if you haven't subscribed to us yet, give us a subscribe and like, thumbs up, and ring that bell for notifications so that you know our videos are out there to watch. And we'll see you next week.
We will. Yeah, I've been Mike, and
I'm
we'll
Thomas.
see you. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
See ya.